Today is March 13th, 2026, and we'll be going over portfolio updates from week 42 since I started investing my full paycheck and fully living out of my Robinhood Brokerage account at the end of May 2025 last year. I'll be going over the continued rough performance from this last week due to the war in Iran, dividends received, portfolio news as it kind of relates to like all the layoff stuff that's gone on, and also as usual, the finance video of the week. As always, I share all of my numbers with radical transparency, and you can see my full portfolio and performance with no paywall. Everything is linked in the description below for free if you want to follow along and poke at the numbers yourself, specifically my Snowball analytics portfolio. And yeah, as usual, this video is for entertainment and education purposes only. I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing here should be taken as financial, investment, or tax advice. I'm simply sharing my personal investing journey and documenting my own results. Investing always carries risk, especially when using margin, and you can potentially lose money. Don't copy what I'm investing in blindly without understanding the risks and doing your own due diligence. No returns are guaranteed. Before we get properly started, we'll just kind of quickly go over my monthly flow chart. And this is kind of the layoff edition, right? Of how I live on my Robinhood Brokerage account and invest 100% of my unemployment paychecks. So yeah, as a refresher for anyone new, I invest 100% of my income. Now it's kind of closer to $1,152 every week, given that I got laid off and I'm using my unemployment checks. So normally I invest my full paycheck into growth and high yield ETFs, but with the layoff, I'll be kind of refocusing on safer high yield ETFs for now to keep my monthly cash flow going. So think XPay, TDAC, TSPY, QQI, SPY, Chippy, things like that. And with that, I've stopped using a traditional bank account to live entirely out of my Robinhood Brokerage account. I use cheap margin of 4.5% to bridge the gap between my bills and my dividends. And the goal is to ideally never sell a share and take money out of the account, apart from rebalancing. And yeah, I want to forever compound my growth and high yield assets and have my monthly dividends eventually exceed my monthly expenses. If you want an in-depth breakdown of the old chart that I'll eventually get back to once I have a job again, check out the link at the top right. And yeah, let's just get started. So if we pop over to Robinhood, we can kind of see the latest numbers here. So yeah, a little bit of a red day today, down 0.02% or $26, and overnight taking a bit of a dip here. But if we check on the week here, so a lot better than last week for sure. So kind of started the week down on Monday, and then it's kind of trended its way back up. I was actually positive for a bit there, but then it kind of slowly got down over the course of the week, right? So at one point I was up 4.63%, which was cool. But then yeah, just kind of just grinded down as more news kept coming up and whatnot. So the week I'm down 0.98% or $1,519. On the month, down 4.7K or 2.98%. Yeah, you can kind of see like the ups and downs from last week here, right? And then just grinding down on the 3 months. An error along the chart. Weird. Guess not happy. And year to date, yeah, still not doing so. Down 9.32% or 15.8K. So yeah, and if we go all down 8.6K or 5.35% since I brought everything over to Robinhood in July of last year. Yeah, you can kind of see all my positions here too. Like, yeah, well, you can see that all this is live, right? You can see all my positions. A few things that were in the green today, just slightly SHD and BTCI. If we pop over to the investment sheet here to kind of have a deeper look at things, we can kind of take a look here. So if we tally all the assets together, gross value of my portfolio is sitting at 315.6K here. I'm using 161.8K of margin right now. So this has ticked a little bit up with some bills that came out this week. And with that, my net value with margin is 153.8K. There's also realized gains and losses of minus 12.3K. So like, yeah, if you saw my videos a couple weeks ago, I did the big rebalancing pass with everything, right? So I sold off a lot of things to kind of rebalance into just ETFs, no more single stocks, and also some of reducing my higher margin maintenance ratio positions that were on the high yield side to just reduce it down to 25% here and to kind of refocus on some of the safer yielders. There's still some higher yielders for sure, YMAX, Alti, and Chippy, but for the most part, I'll just be investing into XPay, TDAC, TSPY, SPY, MLPI, QQI, things like that from now for the foreseeable future with the layoff. Kind of keep NAV appreciation going, right? And then if we go over to the total return column and the unrealized gain loss column, so I'm basically going to read off these two things over here, right, on the bottom. So if we factor in total return, so that's basically dividends received plus the realized gains and losses, all on margin. I'm actually up 32.9K or 21.41% on the portfolio. On the unrealized side, if you don't factor in the dividends, but do factor in like the realized gain losses, I'm down 25.7K after all that rebalancing the other week, or down 16.74%. So this is all going off the net value, right? So this is typically what you'll see like on Robinhood, for example, for this. And then I wish they showed the total return like this, but yeah, that's why I have to calculate it myself to kind of just show the realities of both columns here. And of course, yeah, like given the recent rebalances on stuff, right? Like there's definitely a lot more stuff in the red than there used to be, especially on the growth side. So yeah, CLSC and OR and VGT are all fresh and kind of got hit by the volatility from the war. So these are still in the red and haven't had quite a chance to recover yet. But all the rest of the growth is pretty much in the green, minus SPMO, which is still relatively fresh too from the end of December. XPay holding up good in the green there, up 19% or 7.9K in total returns. Chippy had a hard time, basically invested right before it started dipping with the war stuff. So like, yeah, that's down 6.31% in total returns, or 2.3K. Yeah, YMAX down as well. Ulti, TDAC, T-SPY, and SPY-I. Yeah, just haven't had a chance to recover as much too, given everything, the downward pressure from everything. But I expect these eventually to kind of get back in the green as dividends roll in and stuff stabilizes a bit more. MLPI holding up good, given the energy trade right now. QQI is in the same boat as like TDAC and all that. And yeah, gold still holding up good, and BTCI slowly recovering actually, but yeah, still down overall. And if we pop over down here to see the breakdown between everything. So on the growth side of things, so what makes up that 315.6K is 166.5K of growth, or 52% roughly of the portfolio, and the high yield income makes up 149.1K of the portfolio, or 47.25%. So as far as the margin health, you can kind of see here, we already listed off the gross portfolio value, the margin, the net portfolio value. If we take my blended margin maintenance now of 25% and apply this to the gross portfolio value, that gives you this number, the margin maintenance number, right? So 78.9K. So this is the number that my portfolio would have to drop to basically trigger a margin call, right? So that's why this isn't kind of in highlight green, just to kind of like really monitor these numbers closely. So really that's a margin buffer of 74.8K, right? Or 0.9K if we round it up. So really that's if we go off the net portfolio value, that's a 48.7% buffer, which on its face seems potentially a bit more safe, but really what I really look at more closely is the margin buffer for the gross portfolio value. So if we go off this gross portfolio value, right, and this is the combination of all the assets, I think that's more accurate and factors in the margin amplification. So if this were to drop 23.73%, then that would actually basically be the equivalent of this buffer and then go down to this number, right? So this percentage, the 23.73% drop, is the equivalent of a 48.7% drop if you factor in like the margin amplification, right? So with that, if you take my margin total and minus out the margin used, my margin buying power is 77.7K here. If you half that roughly, that's my cash available for withdrawal. So this is cash I could technically take out of the account if I needed to. 38.8K here. And with all that, my equity is sitting at 48.73%. So you'll notice that this is like kind of grinding down slowly, right? Just because like, yeah, not as much income is coming to the portfolio anymore, given the layoff. So this is kind of to be expected, as I mentioned the other week. So yeah, this will really kind of only start recovering, hopefully when I get a job in the next few weeks, hopefully. So, and with that, my monthly dividends are sitting at just above 4.5K. So yeah, I mostly had little buys of TDAC this week with like some credit card cash back. So nothing too crazy. And yeah, with that, my dividend distribution is sitting at 36.22%. If you go off just what's invested in the high yield assets, if you go off the full portfolio value, it's actually sitting at 17.82%. So yeah, that's where the portfolio's at with all that. And if we pop over to Snowball, you can kind of see a deeper view of some stuff. We just keep going down the rabbit hole. So you can kind of see the categories, how they're breaking down, right? So the anchors are sitting larger now than the singles and ultra. So that's with the NAV erosion, and yeah, just what I started putting in heavier into the anchors here. So like my plan for this year is to really go heavier on the anchors, right? So I want really this number to outpace what's in the singles and ultra. Really in the singles and ultra, all I'll be kind of contributing to for the most part will either be Chippy or BTCI on particular dips on Bitcoin. IMAX and Ulti I'm leaving leaving alone for now, just kind of letting those kind of pay out and see if it can kind of get back to potentially close to positive here with dividends received, but we'll see. So far, the strategy changes have been promising, and we'll dive into that in a little bit here. And yeah, Chippy, again, just struggling with like the war in Iran and kind of getting affected by that volatility, right? On the anchor side, this is actually green and nice. So a lot of that's coming from XPay, which is doing solid and up 19.23% or 8K, right? Yeah, T-SPY, TDAX, SPY-I, and QQI just having a hard time with like the volatility. So they're in the red right now. And MMLPI is holding in strong here. The hedges, yeah, these are brand new and still in the red given the volatility. So not quite working out as hedges as strong as right now given the volatility, but we'll see once things kind of start evening out and see how that'll perform. But in theory, it should hopefully be a lot less volatile going forward, but we'll see. We'll see how that plays out given all the international troubles right now. Gold holding up good as a hedge overall, up 11.3% with dividends and capital gains. And then the anchors, the growth and dividend growth anchors holding up good here and all mostly in the green. Yeah, just VGT and SPMO in the red there, but SCHD, QQQM, and VOO holding up great. If we pop over to the growth tab here, we can kind of compare how we did this week compared to the S&P. So if we isolate the timeline to this week, so from the 9th to the 13th, right? So yeah, I actually outperformed slightly the S&P 500, which was nice to see. So I was down 1.11%, so 1.7K, and the S&P was down 1.5K or 2.3K. So lost less than the S&P, which was nice. So held up nicely. Year to date, of course, not outperforming it. You can kind of see that the S&P is holding up a lot better. This is kind of the dangers of margins, right? So yeah, you can see here that like the jumps were nice in early January and it was kind of outperforming, but some of the dips here just kind of have been hard to recover from, right? And it's just been kind of grinding down because there just hasn't been like strong green days to kind of really bounce off of, at least for my portfolio. So you can kind of see that, almost like 4 times worse than the S&P right now, which is rough, but it is what it is. And yeah, showing the good and the bad of the portfolio, right? Down to my new favorite section here, like the heat map. So again, isolated here to just last week. We can kind of get a good picture of like what was in the red, what was in the green. So yeah, SHD down 1%, XPay down 1.6%, pretty much in line with VOO here. SPMO down 1.7%, QM down 1%. Chippy actually outperformed this week, up 1.2%, which was nice. That's including dividends. So all this is total returns, right? Or down 1.4%. YMAX holding up good. So just like eked out a slight gain here with the dividends received and the capital gains. So plus 0.03%. So the new strategy change for this seems to be holding up nicely. TLSC had a good week as far as the hedges go, so that was up almost 1%. And Alti here, nice surprise, right? This was up 1.2% this week, so outperforming most things here and kind of in line with Chippy here. So yeah, that's what dividends received again. TDAC down 0.36%. BTC and Bitcoin up good this week. So yeah, you can kind of see how things were going, right? And you can kind of see the rest here for MLPI, BGT, and all that. If we switch to year to date, you can kind of see the full picture of the year. So mostly red, of course, with the volatility, but SHD just holding up great overall, still up 12%. LPI holding up good, gold holding up good, but everything else is mostly just kind of in the red here, right? Alti, though, surprisingly, if you look at it, it's just down 2%. So it's actually outpacing the S&P 500 so far with total returns, which is nice to see. YMAX down a lot, but yeah, its strategy just changed. So I'm very curious to see how this will do for the rest of the year. But so far, at least, kind of seeing this week, given all the volatility, kind of gives me some hope there that maybe the strategy change is going to work good. So we'll see. We'll definitely be monitoring this, but yeah, kind of nice to see at a glance how things are going, right? And what's down on the month. So yeah, before I do buys, I might actually check the heat map more just to kind of see what would be good to get and what's on a deal, right? So like, for example, like if we just go to like what happened from like the beginning of the month, so you can kind of see what's really down. That could be a good way to identify what's worth buying, right? That's down on the month. And yeah, and then as far as the dividend calendar goes, if we pop over, so it was a solid week as far as dividends go. Had 1.42K come in, $273 of that, or 41% of that was Chippy. Had my quarterly Microsoft dividend, my final one for now, from my single stocks that I previously held of it, $18.71 or 0.92%. Got $216 from Alti at 67%. Got a good decent payment from XPay at $784 at 22.7%, and YMAX at $129 at 51%. So good week overall. Next week's going to be another solid one here. A lot of the monthly payers that are coming in, so it'll be another over $1,000 week, which will be nice. All this stuff honestly is like really indispensable right now given the layoff. So this is helping supplement things on top of my unemployment income, right? That's how it's looking for the rest of March. And yeah, it's looking like I might be hitting 4.47K this month. So pretty solid overall and kind of outperforming what was there last month, right? If we pop to dividends received, yeah, last month was 3.9K. So yeah, we're kind of getting back up there. As far as yield on cost, you can kind of see here how that's looking. Alt had a dividend of 67.8%, but with the yield on cost for what my average cost per share is, it's sitting, that's actually 43.6% for all the capital I've invested in it. YMAX 51.69%, or a yield on cost of 32.45%. Chippy 41.13% or 37.8%. BTCI 26.45% or 16.5%. XPay 23%, so actually up. TDAX slightly down 16.83%. TSPY 14.03% for the capital I've invested. MLPI holding up strong at 14.83. QQQI 13.88, so down a little bit. SPY down at 11.82%, IAUI up, and then SCHD up given the dividend growth. So holding up good overall. And yeah, that's pretty much that as far as kind of portfolio performance, dividends and everything. As far as kind of like updates related to the portfolio and the layoff and everything. So no major changes this week. Like I said last week, I think I'm pretty much done with like the big rebalancing that I'm going to be doing, right? Post layoff. So yeah, this week I was mostly just doing small DCAs with my cash back from Robinhood, honestly, with the credit card. So yeah, very, very tiny buys. So like if we pop over to the Discord here, like you can kind of see my trade alerts. This was all like little TDAC buys essentially, right? All this week. And yeah, a little bit from Snowball referral earnings that came in as well. But yeah, stuff that you can kind of see on the Discord there. And yeah, and as far as the unemployment check this week, so like I mentioned in the last video, there was no unemployment check to invest this week as I got my final severance at the end of last week, right? So I need my claim week that ends at the end of last week. I got to file that on Sunday night or during the day. And yeah, so I had to put in that severance, and how that works is that that week is basically excess earnings because of that severance pay. So this week I wouldn't actually get an unemployment payment. So yeah, I didn't pay myself in that case. So next week, in theory, I should kind of be getting back to normal unemployment payments, given that, yeah, I got my final paycheck, I got my severance, and yeah, there's no more surprise deposits that are going to happen for my old job. So I say normal unemployment, quote unquote, too, just because, yeah, I'm still working through with Washington ESD on getting my self-employment income reviewed, because I got thrown to manual review because I declared my YouTube income as self-employment, which is valid and what I should be doing. So yeah, just again, very upset that being honest and self-reporting all that is causing all those issues, right? And yeah, just as a refresher, yeah, this is all the stuff that was happening last week, right? If you want to kind of have a read through there. But yeah, my plan is that on Monday, this coming Monday, I'll actually pay myself from my HELOC, as I mentioned before, so $1,152, as if my unemployment check came in. So talking to previous coworkers, that's how it's worked for them, where they filed on Sunday, and then as soon as Monday, they would get their check deposited from unemployment. So I'll basically be doing the same. And I'm going to have to do this for the next several weeks at least until they kind of get that stuff sorted. Apparently the backlog is like 14 weeks right now. So it's a really frustrating situation, honestly. And I kind of really feel for people that are not in the financial situation that I am, to be able to kind of float myself with my HELOC and things like that. So yeah, I really feel for people then kind of getting wrecked by the system that way. As far as job search goes, I had a couple of interviews this week, which was nice, and they both went really well. I'll be doing final rounds for both of them next week. So fingers crossed I get a good offer from those and that goes all good. So yeah, if all goes well, I might maybe be back to work by mid-April, hopefully. So we'll see. We'll see how the offers pan out and if the final rounds go good next week. But I'm I'm pretty hopeful actually, and really thankful. I've managed to get interviews that fast, and really thankful to friends that referred me and everything. So then as far as bills this week, yeah, it's a bit trickier to do the paycheck investing plus bill payments given like the odd schedule for the unemployment stuff now. But like, yeah, I did pay a few bills this week. This week was nothing crazy as far as bills. If we pop over here, basically just these 2 bills that I paid today. So my Chase Amazon card, which was I exclusively use for Amazon because I use that Amazon quite a bit. So that's 5% cash back on any Amazon purchases. So I had a little payment there, and just a little $194 that went to the HELOC as far as like excess income that could go there. So next week I'll have my Robinhood Gold card to pay off. That'll be my first payoff of the card. And then week after that, I'll have my BOA Summit. And then at the end of the month, my mortgage. So that's the color codes here for those. But nothing too crazy this week, just a little $460 that came out of the account. So well covered by the dividends that I received this week, which was nice. And then for the gold card payment, that'll be actually well covered by both my unemployment and the dividends I'll be getting next week, right? So I'll be getting all this next week, should well cover that. So yeah, that's the updates as far as the portfolio. And for finance video of the week, so I was listening to this podcast, the Mile High Fi podcast. So this was with Mr. Money Mustache, and kind of talking about the fears of retiring early, right? So for people that are familiar with FIRE, you might recognize Mr. Money Mustache. He's like one of the OGs of the FIRE movement. Yeah, he started like blogging about it like years ago, right? So yeah, it was a cool little podcast to listen to during my walks this week. And yeah, it talks about the different fears people might have for when they're retiring early, right? Or like the 1 more year syndrome that people might have before pulling the trigger, even though the math works out and they actually have enough to retire. Yeah, so just fun conversations that they went through with the 2 co-hosts there. And a lot of like kind of realities when in dealing with that. So it's something I think about a lot, honestly, because like, yeah, definitely people always talk about like how you need to have stuff to retire to and not to kind of retire with no plan, right? So that's actually something I'll probably do a video on in the next couple of weeks, honestly. Like Rob at Velocity Portfolio actually did something similar the other week, which is cool, and kind of talking about some of his potential plans for early retirement. So definitely inspired me to kind of do the same and talk about it as well, because yeah, I've been kind of collating a list of like stuff I might want to do right eventually once I'm retired, or when work is optional and my portfolio is paying me in the background. Like it doesn't matter what I make, and if I do random odd jobs or whatnot just for fun. So yeah, that's check out this episode when you have a chance and subscribe to that podcast. A good one. And as far as next video goes, this week I spent a couple of days kind of getting my taxes ready. I have my tax appointment on Thursday this week. And yeah, so I'll probably just do like a video going over my preliminary tax estimates that I ran. So I kind of got all my numbers together, all my dividends, and I kind of ran them through ChatGPT just to kind of get a rough estimate, just to see what I'm kind of potentially looking at. But yeah, I'm having a proper tax person do it though. But the estimates were encouraging. We'll see how accurate it ends up being once I kind of actually run it through the tax person. But like, nice surprise, honestly. So we'll dive into all the numbers. I got it all in a spreadsheet, and we can kind of look at it all together. So yeah, that'll probably be the next video that I'll maybe shoot this weekend or early next week. Maybe this weekend, because like early next week will actually be the interviews. So that's the video. As usual, if you want to follow me off YouTube, there's a bunch of different ways of doing it. You can follow me on Blossom Social. You can see all my trades here, all my videos. You would have seen like all my little TDAC trades that I did this week. You can also follow me on Snowball, like all the same numbers that I was showing you earlier. You can kind of look at these for yourself and poke around. Total open book and total transparency, right? Nothing's hidden. You can kind of just see everything. And of course, there's a Patreon as well too, where it has my full backlog of videos. This is just in case there's any YouTube shenanigans, right? And yeah, and then of course the Discord, like I was showing earlier. So you can see all my trade alerts here. That's another way of doing it. And just a lot of good conversations in between videos here. So someone put together a little DCA for life shirt the other day, just as a joke, as we were talking about DCA in red days and green days. So this was a little funny one to see. But yeah, great little community that we have. We're over 325 people now, so it's growing nicely. People posting their trades, people talking about how they're living out of their brokerage, other YouTubers on channel posting their videos. I'm always encouraging people to seek out multiple YouTubers and see how different people are doing it and see what works for you and what bits and pieces you want to take for your strategy, right? Like there's no one end all be all strategy because everyone's situation is very different. So yeah, that's the Discord. So definitely check it out if you want to join the community. It's all completely free. And all the links for everything that I just listed are in the description below, and it's all free. I don't want to paywall anything or gatekeep anything. So happy to have you join us for free. And with that, if you're appreciating all the transparency and you really want to see how my layoff journey continues and how I end up somehow making it while still living out of my brokerage account, give me a like and subscribe. Hit the bell notification to get notified for the next video. And then I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.